Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to record my go-to glam. Now the very first thing that I'm doing is I am outlining the bottom part of my eyebrows. I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me concealer in the shade Sand, and I'm using a Wet n Wild concealer brush to outline and define my eyebrows. And I'm going in with the e.l.f. brush to brush out my eyebrows as I'm doing this. After I've done this, I'm then going to go in with concealer on my eyelids. I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape concealer in the shade Medium. And I'm using a beauty blender to blend this out. And I'm doing this to prep my eyelids for the eyeshadow to come. And I make sure not to set my eyelids so that the eyeshadows stand out a lot. For the palette, I am using the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette, and the very first shade that I'm going in with is the color Silk Cream, and I'm applying this with a Wet n Wild blending brush because it's very fluffy, and I wanted this to be kind of messy since it's my transition shade. I didn't really care where the color went. I just focused it on my crease and outer corner and inner corner. And then I went in a second time with the same shade because I wanted the color to stand out a little bit more. And once I've done that, I go in with the same brush, the same Wet n Wild brush, and I apply the color MFEO. And basically I did the same technique as the first time, which is no technique. I just apply it very messily into my crease and I blend out the two colors together. And then I went in a second time with the same color because, like I said before, I wanted the color to stand out a little bit more than it did the first time. Now with the same brush, I'm then going to go in with the shade Butter, and what I'm going to do first is apply it in my outer corner, and then after I've applied it in my outer corner, I then drag it into my crease, in my inner corner, and on my eyelid. And because I'm going to be cutting my crease, I'm going to be doing half cut crease. It doesn't really matter that I'm applying it on my eyelid because it's going to get covered up by the concealer anyway. So my main focus is into the crease. Then I switch brushes and I go in with the M441 brush and the shade Pooter, and I first apply it into my outer corner. That's my main focus, is the outer corner, and then I drag the excess into my crease and then in my inner corner and on my eyelid as well. I'm now going to do the half cut crease, and I'm using the same brush that I used to do my eyebrows. And for concealer, I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me concealer in the shade Sand again. And I'm very carefully doing my half cut crease, and I'm trying to trace my crease as much as possible. And because I have hooded eyes, it's a little bit harder, but it's doable. And then I went in with the blending brush to correct a little mistake that I had done, and then I went back in with the concealer and fixed it again. But yeah, so I'm just using the concealer and the brush, and then I'm using the beauty blender to blend it out because I felt like it was creasing a little, and so if I applied eyeshadow over that, it wasn't gonna look right. Now I'm using a flat shader brush, and I'm first applying the shade Beam in the inner corner and the first part of my eyelid, and then I go straight into the shade Faint and I apply that over top of the first shade, and then I go in with the shade Sissy and I do the same technique, and then finally I go in with the shade Little Lady and I apply that in the outer part, and then I just go back in with all the previous colors and then blend it all together. Essentially what I did was I created sort of an ombre effect using these shimmer shades starting from lightest to darkest, and then I go in with the M441 brush and I blend out my crease a little bit more, and then I fix my inner corner to make it a little bit brighter. Now I am going in with the shade Butter and the shade Buns, and I am using that to smoke out my outer corner. I am using the Morphe M433 brush to do this, and I'm applying it in dabbing motions, and then whatever the excess is, I applied it ever so slightly into my crease. And then here I'm going back in once more with the shade Beam because I just felt like it wasn't showing as much as I wanted it to. Now because I'm going to be applying falsies, I decided to draw a line of eyeliner so that my band wouldn't look ugly over it. And then here I'm getting rid of any excess with a baby wipe. To prime my face, I am using the Too Faced Hangover Primer as usual, and I'm blending this very, very well into my skin. And then because my forehead is so big, I need a separate pump just for my forehead. And again, I blend it all out together. For concealer, I decided to go in with the Milani Conceal and Perfect foundation, and this is in the shade Sand Beige, and it's the number 06. And I apply a lot of pumps all over my face with this foundation, and then I use a beauty blender to blend this out together. I really like this foundation because it's such full coverage for a drugstore foundation, and I really like the finish of it because it's not too drying and it's not too dewy. So I feel like it's a very nice finish on my skin, and it's really easy to blend out. And even though this is just technically one layer and it does provide very good coverage, if I wanted even more coverage, I've gone in with the second layer before and it didn't look cakey whatsoever on me. It still looked just as smooth on the face. So that's why I really like this foundation. And I mean, it's only like, I believe it's only like $12, so it's a pretty good steal if you ask me. I'm also blending it into my neck because I don't want there to be a color difference from my face to my neck in pictures. So yeah, I'm just doing that and making everything look as seamless and blended as possible. Now I'm going in with concealer, and I'm not applying too much concealer. This is sort of a soft glam, so I'm only applying a little bit. And I'm going in with a mixture of the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in the shade Medium and the shade Light Sand, and I'm dragging it down and across in a triangular motion. And then once I've done that, I blend it all out together. And it's very easy to blend since I didn't apply too much of it. It's not much blending that needs to be done. And then I like to immediately go in with my Eco Tools sponge and my Kat Von D translucent powder to set that under eye. And I apply this first before blending out my other eye because I didn't want it to crease on me, so I like to do one eye at a time. And if you notice, I also don't like to use the same sponge because sometimes if I need to go back in with the beauty blender and like blend out some other area, if it has setting powder on it, I just find that it doesn't blend as nicely as it would if it didn't have the powder on it. So I just like to keep the two separate, and I use one sponge for blending and one sponge for my setting powder. Now after I've done that, I'm gonna go into highlighting the rest of my face. So I'm applying it on my chin, my nose, and my forehead, and I'm doing the same combination that I did for my under eyes. I'm using the shade Medium and the shade Light Sand to get my perfect match. And then again, I'm going in with the beauty blender and blending this out, starting with my chin and then my forehead, and then I'm applying it and blending it on my nose. And for some reason, when I apply this on my nose, it looks like as if I had contoured my nose, even though I didn't. And now I'm going in with the Kat Von D translucent powder again and my Eco Tool sponge to set the T-zone, the forehead, the nose, and my chin. And for bronzer, I went in with the Chocolate Soleil matte bronzer, and I'm using my BH Cosmetics brush to blend this out. Now I really make sure to do a good job of blending this out because bronzer is very easy to look blotchy and patchy on the face, so I built up the product, but I also make sure to really blend it out to avoid my bronzer from looking this way. And on camera, it looks like I'm applying a lot, which I am, because I've noticed that when I do my makeup, the very first thing to fade away is my bronzer, so I usually now go in with a little bit of a heavy hand so that it lasts a little bit longer throughout the day. Now, I felt like this was looking a little bit too messy for my liking, so I went in after and I sharpened it up a little. But first, I blended out the excess powder off of my face that I used to set my concealer. And after I dust that away, I go back in with the contour brush one more time because I wanted it to look a little bit more cleaner after dusting away the setting powder. And I'm also applying it in my jawline so that it looks a little bit more blended and toned. Now, like I said, I'm going in with the Kat Von D powder and the Eco Tool sponge to sharpen up my contour a little bit because I felt like it was looking a little bit too messy and like I had dragged it down a little bit too much. So I'm using the Eco Tool sponge and drawing the line and then dragging the excess powder down. And after I apply the powder and the amount that I want, I then like to quickly dust away the powder because if I leave it on for too long, it leaves the line looking a little bit too sharp for my liking, and it leaves a little bit of a white cast, which I don't like. I don't like that kind of discoloration on that part of the face. Now I'm going in with the shade Butter and the shade Buns, and I'm using that to smoke out my bottom lash line. And I'm using the BH Cosmetics pencil brush to do this. So basically I'm applying these two shades all in my waterline. And then I'm doing this again with the other eye. And I didn't think that these two were smoky enough. So then what I did was I went in with the shade Chip using the same brush. And I blended it out in the outer part of my waterline just so that it would look a lot more smokier than it did before. Now for blush, I am going in with the Wet n Wild blush in the shade Mellow Wine, and I swear I love this shade so much. I feel like it suits my skin tone so well. And this is my mom interrupting me because she was getting ready as well, and she likes to ask me a lot of questions as to how to do her makeup. But yeah, so she just kept cutting into my video. And now I'm just blending this out, and I then set my face and quickly go into applying highlighter before my setting spray dries. And I'm using the Carly Bible palette and I'm mixing those two shades to apply my highlight. Now for highlight, I like to use this BH Cosmetics brush to sort of blend out the highlighter a lot more, and I apply it in layers because I'd rather apply too little than too much. If I apply a little bit, I can always go in with more, whereas if I apply a lot, it's a lot harder to make it look a lot more blended out. Then I'm using clear gel mascara to set my eyebrows, and I don't even know why I chose to do it until now, but yeah, we're going with it. And then I went in with my Maybelline mascara and I applied the mascara in my bottom lashes on both eyes. Now after, I then go in with the Morphe M210 brush and the shade Beam to highlight under my eyebrows. I just really like this color under my eyebrows. And I decided to do sort of like a get ready with me kind of video for this event that I was going to. So now I'm going to show you guys how I did my hair. In this clip, my hair already looks really straight after I've combed it out, but it wasn't. Like, I would still have had to go in with a straightener to sort of get rid of some creases, and I kind of just wanted to have my hair curled. So here I'm going in with my curling wand and I'm curling my hair in the opposite direction, and then I wait just a few seconds and then I quickly let go of my hair because I don't want the curls to be too tight. I want them to be sort of loose. So here I am showing you guys one more time how I do it. I'm just curling my hair all the way to the end, waiting a few seconds, and then letting go of the hair. Now I sped this part up because I mean, I didn't want to bore you guys, but yeah, it's pretty easy to do. I mean, it takes a little bit of time and patience, but yeah. And if you mess up a curl, or if you don't like how the curl looks, just let it cool off for a little bit before trying again, because if you go to curl it again right away, it's not gonna curl. You have to let it cool off first. So here you can see that I'm like fixing it because it didn't curl as much as I wanted it to. I let it go a little bit too quickly, and then I'm just running my fingers through it and seeing which parts of the hair need a little bit more curling, and then I'm curling it. Now I am just running my fingers through my hair and fluffing my hair out. I'm trying to decide like where to part it, and yeah. Now for my lips, I went in with a gloss. This is the e.l.f. plumping gloss. I didn't want to apply a liquid lipstick because since I was going to be eating, I didn't want to have to worry about touching up the lip product, and gloss is easy to just retouch throughout the day. So I thought that this would be the best choice for me. My mom really wasn't getting the hint and she came in my video again, but this is pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching.